The movie begins with two beekeepers, Teddy and his autistic cousin Don. Both of them together take care of bees. Teddy explains to Don that bees go to different places and pollinate, and this pollination helps grow most of the world's food crops. But now those same bees are dying rapidly. Some people believe the reason is pesticides, loss of bee habitat, or tampering with nature by large agricultural companies for profit. But Teddy believes there's an even bigger truth behind this, a truth he's been searching for years, and now he feels he's found the real answer. Now we see Michelle, who is the high-profile CEO of a large pharmaceutical company called Oxalif. She follows her strict morning routine, intense exercise, running, and martial arts training. Every day, she tries to keep herself more perfect and in control than before. Meanwhile, Teddy is explaining to Don that the bees dying is not an ordinary accident. According to him, behind this are corporate elites who control the world, who are actually not humans but aliens. Teddy claims that these aliens monitor not just our lives, but even our minds. That's why to fight them, it's necessary to constantly train both body and mind. One day, when both are going toward the shop, Don asks fearfully, "Can the people around us also be aliens?" So Teddy explains to him that most people are ordinary humans, but aliens can be identified by certain special signs. Meanwhile, Michelle reaches her company headquarters as usual. Almost at the same time, Teddy and Don buy ropes, tools, and other necessary items from a pharmacy. Then they also get some new clothes. Returning home, Teddy boosts Don's morale. He says, "You are the most important part of this mission. You're my true friend, and I'm doing all this more for your safety than for the world." At night, Teddy explains another thing to Don, that to stay completely focused on the mission, it's necessary to stay away from weaknesses like lust. But Don hesitantly expresses his desire that he also wants a girlfriend like other people. Then Teddy tells him that all this is just an illusion of the mind, a game of neuron signals, and the person who has control over their mind actually has control over everything. Immersed in this thinking, Teddy makes Don impotent like himself through chemical injection so that they both don't become slaves to emotions and desires. The next day, both reach Michelle's house wearing paper face masks. And as soon as Michelle returns from the office, both try to kidnap her. Michelle puts up a strong fight and manages to escape, but Teddy catches her and injects her leg to make her unconscious. Then Teddy and Don put Michelle in her own car and leave from there. On the way, Teddy has Don shave off all of Michelle's hair. He suspects there might be a tracker in Michelle's hair. After burning Michelle's hair and phone, they bring her to their house. Teddy starts claiming that Michelle is not human. He looks at her legs, skin, and hair and says these are all proof that she's an alien. They apply a cream all over Michelle's body that weakens her nervous system. Teddy explains that Michelle looks like an ordinary human from the outside, but her nervous system is completely different from a normal human's. When Michelle regains consciousness, she starts looking around in fear and panic. She doesn't understand where she is. Teddy tells her, "We are part of a human resistance group, and we believe you're one of those alien imposters who have infiltrated Earth." Michelle doesn't understand anything. She asks, "Why was my head shaved?" So Teddy says, "We did this so you can't make any contact with your ship." Michelle doesn't understand about the ship either. She warns that the police and FBI will soon start searching for me because I'm an important executive of a large company. She tries to explain to them that kidnapping me is as dangerous a crime as kidnapping a governor and suggests that we can find a solution by talking peacefully. But Teddy doesn't care about any of her warnings. He accuses Michelle of being a member of the Andromeda Empire, an alien species that he considers responsible for destroying Earth's agriculture and environment. Teddy wants Michelle to take them to her mothership on the night of the lunar eclipse so he can negotiate with their royal rulers and force them to leave Earth. Michelle refuses to accept herself as an alien, but Teddy considers the Andromeda court visible on her social media as proof. He says number 45-year-old woman can have such perfect skin unless there's something unnatural about her. Michelle repeatedly explains that she looks like this because of her fitness, good diet, and high-level medical care. But Teddy doesn't believe a single thing she says. Immersed in his delusion, Teddy gives her a recorder and orders, "Throughout the night, you record a message for your emperor so all the aliens call Don and me to their ship, and then I can make a deal with them to leave Earth." Teddy believes that the death of bees and Earth's destruction are all happening because of these aliens. He takes Dawn and leaves the room. Michelle begs them to stop, but none of her words have any effect. Gradually, night falls. Upstairs, Teddy and Dawn are jumping around celebrating their success like children, and downstairs in the CCTV room, Michelle is completely broken. She's crying uncontrollably. Teddy once again strictly warns Dawn not to fall for Michelle's words at all and not to trust her emotions. According to Teddy, Michelle is not human, and even if we assume she is human, she's still the face of corporate evil, because she herself was a lead executive in the company that makes chemicals killing bees. Teddy reminds him that they only have 4 days left before the lunar eclipse to stop the alien ship from leaving Earth without being detected. A little later, while monitoring Michelle through cameras, Teddy suddenly gets lost in memories of his sick mother. Teddy's mother was telling him in a trembling voice, "These people are experimenting on me. They're poisoning me so my cells can reprogram my own blood. But I'm enduring all this pain for you." Then his mother's body slowly starts rising in the air, as if she's no longer completely human. Now 3 days remain until the lunar eclipse. Teddy is going to work on his bicycle listening to an alien podcast. Just then, local Sheriff Casey stops him, who used to take care of Teddy years ago. Teddy has some normal conversation with him and quickly leaves from there. He reaches his workplace. Teddy works in Michelle's company itself and handles the warehouse. There he sees news of Michelle's disappearance on TV. Later, when he returns home, checks his honey shipment, and meets Dawn, he finds out that Michelle still hasn't eaten. When he goes to Michelle and listens to her recording, Michelle has recorded a message calling herself an alien. But Teddy feels Michelle is mocking him. Teddy angrily tells Michelle to speak in her alien language and order her species to leave Earth. Michelle says, crying, "I'm not an alien. You're trapped in false theories spread on the internet." Hearing this, Teddy flares up and angrily picks up a chair and throws it on the ground. Michelle asks him, "What exactly do you want? You don't want my money, not my body, no pleasure. You're just sick. Teddy, you're struggling with mental illness." Hearing these words, Teddy completely loses control and slaps Michelle in anger. Later, Teddy shows Dawn a computer model of a ship he's made and proudly says, "I've never seen a real alien ship, but this model is exactly like that. I found a way to identify aliens. Now I just need to reach their ship so I can talk to them to save humanity." Now 2 days remain until the lunar eclipse. Both return to the basement again to see Michelle. Michelle is trying to free herself, but as soon as Teddy and Dawn enter, she becomes quiet. Finally, exhausted, Michelle admits, "I am an alien and now I just want peace from all this." But Teddy still ties her up to give electric shocks to extract the truth. Michelle keeps saying repeatedly, "I've already admitted I'm an alien." But Teddy turns up the radio so her screams don't go outside and starts shocking Michelle with an electric device. Michelle starts screaming in pain. Dawn also tries to stop Teddy, but Teddy doesn't stop. Finally, Dawn can't bear it and pulls the machine's wires to shut it off. Finally, Teddy also stops and realizes that no ordinary alien could have withstood this much electric shock until now. This clearly means Michelle is not an ordinary alien. He kneels before Michelle and respectfully says, "I didn't even know, Your Majesty. I thought you'd be just an ordinary alien. But no ordinary alien can withstand this much current. This is all because of your royal genetic code." At that very moment, Michelle suddenly remembers something. Teddy's mother's condition was because of their company. There was a mistake in a formula they made. But Michelle had promised that the company wouldn't hide its mistake and would keep Teddy's mother in such a condition in front of the world and bear all her treatment costs, with the hope that one day her condition might improve. Now only 1 day remains until the lunar eclipse. Teddy covers all the windows of the house. He lets Michelle bathe and seats her at the dinner table like a royal guest so she can eat with him and Dawn. During the meal, Teddy directly accuses Michelle, "Your alien species is destroying the bees." Michelle calmly replies, "Maybe you're talking about neonicotinoids that my company makes, but your research is outdated now. Recently, the bee population is increasing again." Michelle says that the bees' extinction could also be a natural process. Hearing this, Teddy's anger flares up and he emphasizes, "You're not human at all." Then Michelle tells him, "I also knew about you beforehand," and mentions Teddy's mother. Michelle admits that her company's opioid products harmed many people, including his mother, but their intention was to help. Everything was done under clinical trials, and Teddy's mother was also paid for it. Hearing this, Teddy's heart breaks. He loses his temper and suddenly lunges at Michelle and starts strangling her mercilessly. Michelle somehow defends herself and starts choking Teddy. But then Dawn hits Michelle's head from behind with the back of the gun, and Michelle falls unconscious on the ground. At that very time, Sheriff Casey arrives in front of their house. He's come to investigate Michelle's disappearance. Don drags Michelle back to the basement and holds her there at gunpoint. Sheriff Casey shows Teddy pictures of Michelle and her car and asks if he's seen this woman. Teddy calmly answers, "She's the owner of my company, but I've never seen her personally." Then Casey brings up old times, when he didn't treat Teddy well. He says, "I want to correct my mistakes now." Teddy takes him outside and starts showing him his beehives. Meanwhile, in the basement, Michelle realizes the police are upstairs. She panics and begs Don, "Please call the police. I'll help you. I know you don't completely agree with Teddy." To manipulate Don, Michelle lies, "I'll even take you to my spaceship." But Don says in a sad voice, "I won't go anywhere without Teddy." Then he tells Michelle, "Tell Teddy to forgive me. I love him very much." Saying this, he puts the gun under his chin and pulls the trigger, and Michelle gets drenched in his blood. The sound of the gunshot reaches Teddy and Casey upstairs too. Panicked, Teddy suddenly throws bees at Casey's face and kills Casey with a shovel. Then he runs down to the basement, where Michelle tells him in a trembling voice, "Don did this himself." Teddy is completely broken seeing Don's body. Crying, he picks up the shotgun from Don's hand, points it at Michelle, and angrily shouts, "What did you say to him that made him take his own life?" Michelle tries to stop him and says, "I have a medicine that can save your mother." She explains, "Your mother's body is going through a genetic reconstruction process. In 4 years, once that process is complete, she could either recover or die. But if certain chemicals are given, she can still wake up from the coma." Michelle tells Teddy, "There's an antifreeze bottle kept in my car's trunk. That's your mother's cure." Before going outside, Teddy ruthlessly breaks Michelle's knee so she can't escape. But as soon as Teddy leaves the house, Michelle starts trying to free herself. Finally, she gets the keys from Don's body and becomes free. Teddy also now takes the antifreeze from Michelle's car, reaches the hospital on his bicycle, and thinking the antifreeze is the cure, injects it directly into his mother's fore and starts waiting impatiently for her to get better. Meanwhile, Michelle searches Teddy's house, and a terrible truth comes to light. A room is filled with glass jars that have human organs preserved in them. Michelle also finds Teddy's research notes, which reveal that Teddy has murdered many people before, whom he mistook for aliens in his delusion. Meanwhile, at the hospital, Teddy's mother suddenly starts shaking violently and dies within moments. Teddy understands the antifreeze was not a cure. Michelle deceived him. With anger and a broken heart, Teddy runs from the hospital back home and points the gun at Michelle again. But this time Michelle doesn't get scared, but angrily tells him the truth that her ancestors, under the leadership of their 75th emperor, first discovered Earth. At that time, dinosaurs ruled Earth. But accidentally, the Andromedans released a deadly virus on Earth, which destroyed almost all species. In regret, the emperor decided to create new life, and that's where the human race began. Time passed, humans grew, civilizations were built. Then in the greed for power, humans started changing their own genes. Wars happened, nuclear explosions occurred, and the world was destroyed. Only a few people survived who built a huge ship and restarted civilization. But Michelle says your race kept repeating the same mistakes. War, greed, destruction of nature, and killing each other. She explains that there are some violent genes present in human DNA, which their ancestors developed to make themselves powerful. The Andromedans have now returned to Earth for this very reason, so they can remove those dangerous genes and save humanity and the entire Earth. For this purpose, experiments were conducted on many people like Teddy's mother. If these experiments had succeeded, it would have been possible to change the entire human race. Teddy says, "So you people are going to eliminate all humans." But Michelle says, "The Emperor will make this decision when all the test results are shown to the Emperor during the lunar eclipse. Only after that will it be decided whether humanity will be saved or will be finished forever." Finally, the day of the lunar eclipse arrives. Michelle takes Teddy with her to the company headquarters, and Teddy has also brought Don's body in the back seat of the car. Seeing Michelle, who had been missing for several days, suddenly alive and well in the office, the entire staff is shocked. But without saying anything to anyone, Michelle walks straight toward her cabin. Reaching the cabin, she tells Teddy, "I just need a few minutes to link this building's computer system with my spaceship. Through that, we can both teleport to the ship." Michelle uses her entire memory to type a 58-digit code into a calculator-like device. Before going to the ship, she consoles Teddy. "Maybe we can bring Don back to life too." Hearing this, Teddy says he's completely ready and then reveals that he has tied a bomb to his chest, "So you can't kill me as soon as we reach the ship." Michelle explains to him that her closet is actually a teleporter, but we'll have to go one by one. If we both go together, our bodies might fuse together. Teddy goes inside the closet and closes the door. But as soon as Michelle presses the enter button, the bomb tied to Teddy's body explodes with a huge blast right there, and his severed head flies out and hits Michelle standing outside, causing her to fall unconscious right there. When Michelle regains consciousness, she finds herself in an ambulance. In panic, she jumps from the ambulance and runs away, and running barefoot, reaches back to her office. Going to her cabin there, she activates the device hidden inside the closet and in the next moment teleports to a huge advanced alien ship, where many members of her species, the Perillians, welcome her. Then the whole truth comes out. Teddy wasn't wrong. Michelle really could contact her species through her hair, and it's also revealed that Michelle is not an ordinary alien, but the supreme ruler of all aliens, the Empress herself. Michelle's crew reports that all their human experiments on Earth have failed. Hearing this, Michelle says in a cold and ruthless voice, "Now it's clear that humans cannot be changed. Therefore, clearing Earth of humans is the only way." After this, she tears the transparent ring of the ozone layer around the Earth model placed in front of her, and at that very moment, humanity is wiped out from the entire Earth. In airplanes, on roads, on beaches, wherever humans are present, everyone falls to the ground and dies simultaneously. In the end, only wild animals remain on Earth, wandering in a quiet, desolate, and lifeless world. With this, the movie ends here. Friends, this film reminds us that sometimes the monsters we fear are reflections of our own paranoia and violence. Teddy's tragic journey illustrates how disconnection from reality and others leads to destruction, while Michelle's cold solution reflects humanity's age-old struggle with change versus annihilation. Ultimately, it asks, are we capable of evolving beyond our violent instincts, or are we doomed by our own DNA? Subscribe to explore more thought-provoking cinema that challenges our understanding of humanity.